Welcome, friend. Tonight, we explore a question as soft and mysterious as the night sky itself. What if the moon never existed? This is a gentle science sleep documentary made to soothe, to wonder, and to help you drift peacefully into rest. If you'd like more journeys like this, softly told beneath the stars, please subscribe to Beyond Our Dawn. Here, curiosity always finds a calm place to land. Now, let's begin. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the night sky, not as you know it, but as it might have been. A black canvas stretched across eternity, sprinkled with stars, yet missing the most familiar lantern that has ever hung above our world. The moon, absent. No pale disk rising over the horizon, no silver glow touching the ocean's waves, no quiet witness to the centuries of human dreaming. Just absence, silence, a night that feels unfinished. It is difficult to truly picture such a sky, because for as long as human beings have existed, the moon has been part of our story. Before history was written, before the first fires were lit, people looked upward and saw the moon. It was a rhythm in their lives, a cycle they could count on, a companion that waxed and waned with time itself. Without it, the night would not only be darker, would be lonelier. But let us not treat this thought as catastrophe. This is not a tale of loss meant to frighten. Instead, it is a soft exploration, a meditation on what if. What if our planet had turned alone, unaccompanied by its satellite? What if the familiar glow had never existed, leaving only the sun by day and the stars by night? How would Earth have been shaped differently? How would humanity have told its stories? How would we, lying here tonight, think about ourselves in the great wide universe? Imagine standing in a meadow under this moonless sky. The stars are sharper, almost too sharp, as though the heavens themselves have been cut open. Without the moon's soft light to blend them together, the stars feel cold and countless, distant and unreachable. There is no silver wash across the trees, no gentle light guiding the path. Shadows are absolute. The night is absolute. Perhaps you hear the whisper of wind in the grass, and it feels heavier without the moon watching. Now, imagine time passing. In this world, imagine ancient humans gathering around their fires. In our world, they looked up and saw the moon changing shape. They tracked the crescent, the half, the full, the hidden. They measured time by it, created rituals around it, wove myths into its glow. But in a moonless world, their sky would have been still, unchanging except for the slow drift of stars and the brilliant sun. Would time itself have felt different? Would the months exist? Would calendars, festivals, and cycles of story have been built on something else entirely? Perhaps people would have looked more deeply at the stars. They might have noticed constellations more intensely, or relied entirely on the sun for marking the passage of time. But what would be missing is the intimacy. The moon feels close, almost personal. Stars are distant, unreachable, forever far away. The sun is blinding, overpowering, too fierce to stare at. But the moon is gentle enough to gaze upon, to speak to trust. Without it, the sky would have felt less like home and more like an endless, indifferent void. This is the first layer of imagining, the cultural, emotional, almost spiritual absence of the moon. Every society on Earth has stories tied to it. From Artemis to Selene, from Chandra to change, from the rabbit in the moon to the man in the moon, we have always found meaning in its light. Remove it, and the collective imagination of humanity would shift. Perhaps new stories would form. centered on the stars or the planets visible to the naked eye. But none of them would glow with the same gentle constancy. None of them would be as accessible. Even today, the moon lives in our language, our art, our emotions. Lovers walk beneath it. Poets borrow it for metaphors of longing, of mystery, of beauty. Musicians have written endless songs of moonlight. Without it, our songs and our words would lack an entire dimension of imagery. Our emotional vocabulary would be poorer. Even the word lunacy, drawn from the moon, would vanish. How differently would we think about madness, romance, mystery, if the moon had never whispered those ideas into us? But of course, the moon is not only cultural, it is physical, scientific, stabilizing. Its absence is not only a loss of poetry, but a transformation of the planet itself. Without the moon, tides would weaken. Without the moon, Earth's tilt would wander. Without the moon, the day itself would be shorter. The absence reaches into the core of what Earth is, not just what humans imagine it to be. We will walk through these layers slowly, gently, like turning the pages of an ancient book. Tonight, in this first part, we rest in the image of the moon. Gone missing, we notice how strange it feels to remove it from the sky. The stars are sharper, but colder. The night is darker, but emptier. Human stories lose a companion, human eyes lose a friend. And as you listen, you may feel yourself drifting into thought, into wonder, into the kind of relaxation that comes not from answers, but from open questions. Questions without edges, questions without urgency. Questions like, what would it mean to live on a world where the night had never known the moon? Perhaps such a world would still create life. Perhaps people would still dream. But the dreams would be different. The myths would be different. The songs would be different. In some ways, humanity itself would be different. Because what we see in the sky shapes what we carry in our hearts. Tonight, let us hold the image of the vanishing moon, not as a warning, but as an invitation. An invitation to see how something we take for granted, something that rises quietly, night after night, has shaped us more than we realize. Its absence is a mirror. In imagining what would be lost, we begin to understand what has been given. The moon is absence and presence. Tonight, we begin with absence, before we drift further into the mechanics of planets and the science of orbits. Let us pause for a moment and reflect on the way the moon has lived inside human beings, not in equations, but in culture, memory, and imagination. For the moon is not only a satellite of rock and dust, it is a mirror of our own inner life. It is poetry hung above the horizon, myth carried across generations, and a companion that shaped the rhythm of human existence. Imagine ancient people sitting by their fires, long before books or telescopes. They looked up and saw the moon as a moving face in the sky. It waxed and waned, growing fat, shrinking thin, vanishing, returning. It told them time was passing, that cycles had meaning, that endings were not final because returns were always possible. Without the moon, what would they have seen? Only the stars, which seemed eternal, unchanging to the naked eye. Only the sun, which rose and set but carried no phases, no gentle rhythm to remind them of continuity. Without the moon, the very idea of cyclical time might have been harder to imagine. The word month itself is born of the moon, moonth, a measurement of days wrapped around its phases. Our calendars grew from it. Farmers planted according to it. Rituals were held under it. Remove the moon and the months dissolve. Perhaps humanity would have created calendars purely from the sun. carving the year into days and seasons. But something would be missing, a rhythm within the rhythm, a heartbeat within the year. And then there is the light itself, a night with number. Moon is absolute in its darkness. The stars glitter, yes, but they do not soften the shadows. They do not paint the landscape in silver. Picture an ancient hunter stepping into the forest at night. In our world, the moon guided their steps. It allowed them to see the paths, to track animals, to move with confidence under the pale glow. In a moonless world, darkness presses harder, heavier. Movement is slower, fear greater. The night becomes less a place of quiet wandering and more a territory of caution. The moon, then, was not merely decoration. It was a tool, a lamp gifted to early humans, a guide across their landscapes. Now imagine the sailor at sea. In our world, the moon carves a silver path upon the water. Its reflection ripples and stretches, a soft line to follow across the endless horizon. Without it, oceans would be darker, more dangerous. Stars might still guide navigation, but the comfort of the moon's presence, the reassurance that the night was not wholly blind, would be gone. The ocean would feel more endless, more isolating. The moon's influence did not end with survival. It seeped into stories. Across cultures, it became a deity, a symbol, a mystery. In Greek myth, it was Selene, the goddess, driving her silver chariot across the sky. In Roman tales, it was Luna, inspiration for the word lunatic, as people believed the moon affected the mind. In India, it was Chandra, a shining god of time and emotion. In China, the moon held the story of change, who lives there, eternally inspiring the Mid-Autumn Festival. In Japan, Tsukuyomi was the moon god, shaping balance with the sun goddess Amaterasu, and among countless other peoples, the moon was a rabbit, a face, a lantern of spirits. Look at the moon's surface. Craters, scars, plains. They are marks of impacts that struck billions of years ago. On Earth, such scars are erased, washed away by rain, softened by wind, buried by shifting crust. But the moon has no atmosphere, no oceans, no plate tectonics. Its wounds remain. Each crater is a page in the history of the solar system. Each plain of basalt tells of volcanic fires long cooled. The moon holds memories Earth has forgotten. Without it, we would know less of our own story. We would guess, yes, from rocks and fossils. But the moon gave us direct evidence, preserved in silence. When astronauts brought back lunar samples, they found them older than almost anything on Earth's surface and changed fragments of a time when the solar system was young. Without those rocks, our knowledge of Earth's origins would be poorer, our understanding less clear. The moon also reminds us of fragility. Its surface is covered in fine dust, regolith, created by endless impacts. Each grain a tiny story of collision, of time, of erosion by starlight and space. That dust has lain there for millions of years, undisturbed, silent. When astronauts stepped upon it, their footprints remained and will remain, likely for thousands, perhaps millions, of years on Earth. Footprints vanish quickly. On the moon, they endure. The moon is memory not only of the deep past, but of us. Our first steps beyond Earth are preserved there, waiting for future eyes to see. Philosophically, this makes the moon a kind of archive. Earth forgets its, storms wash away, its crust recycles, its rivers carve anew. But the moon remembers. It remembers collisions, eruptions, journeys. It remembers us. It holds memory in a way Earth cannot. Without it, perhaps we would feel more rootless, less connected to our beginnings. With it, we have a visible reminder in the sky, a mirror of history, a witness of time. Think, too, of what the moon shows us about stillness. Earth is alive, restless, moving. The moon is still, quiet, ancient. To gaze upon it is to gaze upon permanence. It teaches us that not everything changes quickly, that some things endure. In a world of constant motion, the moon's unchanging scars offer perspective. They tell us time can be both fleeting and eternal. Even in science, the moon's memory deepens knowledge. Its rocks reveal the age of the solar system. Its craters tell us how often impacts struck. Its frozen shadows may still hold water, preserved for billions of years. Without it, these clues would be lost. We would know less of Earth, less of ourselves. And yet, beyond science, there is poetry in this memory. The moon is scarred, imperfect, wounded and beautiful. Its craters catch the light. Its dust glows softly. Its scars turn to silver beneath the sun. This, too, is a lesson that memory does not diminish beauty, that scars can shine, that the past, however violent, can be transformed into something gentle. Imagine, now, a world without the moon. Nights would be darker, yes, but history would be poorer. We would lack this diary in the sky, this reminder of our origins, this archive of cosmic memory. Our own story would feel more abstract, less visible. The moon is not only companion, not only clock, not only tied it, is history written in stone, visible to anyone who looks up as you breathe slowly. Picture the dust of the moon, grains lying silent, touched by starlight, untouched by rain or wind. Each grain a witness of billions of years. Each footprint upon it a memory of us. The moon is both ancient and modern, both cosmic and human. It remembers everything, and in that memory it teaches us something gentle, that even as Earth forgets, even as we forget, the universe remembers, that our lives, brief as they are, leave traces, that those traces may last longer than we know. So, the moon is not only present light, it is past preserved. It is Earth's memory echoing across time. And as you drift toward sleep, know this, you are part of that memory too. You, like the moon, carry echoes of what has been, and those echoes will endure in ways you may never see. When we look back, the moon is memory, but when we look forward, the moon becomes possibility. It is both archive and horizon, holding the past in its dust, offering the future in its silence. For though humanity has only walked upon it briefly, the moon remains our closest step into the cosmos, waiting patiently for us to return. Imagine the moon not only as a companion, but as a neighbor we might one day visit often. Its surface, barren and silent, could become a place of laboratories, observatories, perhaps even homes. The thought may sound like science fiction, but it is a dream already stirring. Scientists imagine lunar bases carved into craters, shielded from radiation by rock. Engineers imagine solar panels stretched across plains of dust, gathering endless sunlight. Astronomers dream of telescopes set upon its far side, where Earth's noise cannot reach, giving us the clearest view of the universe we have ever seen. The moon is possibility because it is near. Only 3 days' journey by spacecraft. It is a world we can reach with relative ease. Mars is farther, riskier, demanding months. But the moon is close enough to test, to learn, to practice. It is a classroom for spacefaring, a place where humanity can rehearse the great expansion into the stars. Without it, our leap outward would be harder, our training ground absent. With it, we have a stepping stone. Consider resources, the moons. Regellith holds metals and minerals. Its soil may carry helium-3, a rare isotope that could one day fuel fusion reactors, offering clean energy for centuries. Its polar craters may hide ice, frozen water that could sustain colonies, split in two. Oxygen for breathing, hydrogen for fuel. What seems barren is in fact potential. The moon is not only rocket supply. Without it, our dreams of living beyond Earth would lack this nearby partner. This accessible storehouse. Philosophically, colonies on the moon are more than practicality. They are symbols. To live there would be to declare that humanity is not bound to Earth alone, that our story stretches further, that our imagination has found form. Children born under lunar domes would grow up looking at Earth as their sky. They would speak of going home to Earth, not going away. The moon would not only hold memory, would hold future generations. And what would that do to our identity? Perhaps it would soften borders, as Earthrise once did. To see our planet as a fragile sphere changed our consciousness. To see it from lunar colonies might change it further. We might feel less like nations, more like a species. The moon could teach us unity, not through words, but through perspective. But imagine also the emotional resonance of such futures. Poets writing of not only moonlight, but moon homes. Musicians singing of two skies, one above Earth, one above the moon. Stories written of families across worlds, lovers separated not by oceans, but by orbit. The moon would not lose its poetry, it would gain more. Some imagine even further. The moon as a gateway. Rockets launching from its low gravity to Mars, to asteroids, to beyond. The moon as harbor, as shipyard, as bridge to the stars. Without it, such bridges would be harder to build. With it, the cosmos feels closer, more possible, less dream and more plan. And yet, as always, there is humility in these thoughts. The moon is harsh. Its nights last 2 weeks, its days 2 weeks more. Temperatures swing from boiling to freezing. Its dust clings and cuts. Its silence is profound, its radiation unshuttled. To live there will not be easy. The moon is not waiting with open arms, it is waiting with challenge. But perhaps challenge is part of the gift. The moon will not give itself freely, but it will reward persistence. Philosophically, this is fitting. The moon has always been symbol of longing, of desire just out of reach. To live upon it would be to fulfill that longing, but only through effort, patience, cooperation. It is as though the moon whispers, "You may come, but you must work. You must change. You must grow." And in doing so, we might grow not only technologically, but spiritually. For the moon is not only rock and dust, it is mirror and teacher. It showed us the fragility of Earth. It taught us cycles of time. It pulled our oceans, steadied our tilt, gave rhythm to our nights. Now, perhaps, it will teach us something new, how to live beyond our birthplace, how to carry our humanity into new worlds. Imagine one night in the future. A child stands on the moon, looking up at Earth. They see not a lantern in the sky, but a glowing planet, blue and green, fragile and whole. For them, Earth will be the moon. Their lullabies will be different, their metaphors will be new, but the sense of wonder will remain. The cosmos will still whisper, and they will still listen. So, the moon is memory and possibility. It remembers Earth's past and beckons Earth's future. Without it, we might feel more confined, more bound. With it, we feel the pull not only of gravity, but of destiny. As you breathe gently now, picture that future. Lunar domes glowing softly, telescopes gazing outward, rockets launching from dusty plains, children laughing under a black sky filled with stars. And know that all of it begins with what we already have, the quiet companion rising tonight, silver and constant. The moon is not only what was, it is what will be. The moon has always been more than a light in the sky. It is a mirror for our inner lives, a soft lantern for our emotions. When we speak of longing, of love, of melancholy, of madness, so often we reach for lunar words. The moon is not only external, it is internal, woven into our feelings, shaping our moods, coloring our nights with silver. Imagine standing under a full moon. Its light falls across your skin, cool and pale, different from the golden warmth of the sun. The air feels quieter. Your thoughts turn inward. Somehow, the moon makes you reflective. This is no coincidence. For millennia, humans have felt that the moon stirs emotion. Myths linked it to fertility, to dreams, even to madness. The word lunatic itself comes from lunar, as though the moon could tilt the mind. Science, too, whispers of lunar influence. Studies have suggested that sleep can shift under a full moon, that people rest less deeply, that dreams become more vivid. Some animals time their behavior to lunar light, and perhaps, deep within, we too still carry that rhythm. Even if modern life hides it, the moon tugs gently at us, a subtle pull on our inner tides. Consider love. Poets have compared lovers' faces to the moon for centuries, serene, glowing, unreachable yet close. Lovers have walked beneath its glow, whispering promises, finding courage in its light. Without the moon, romance would still exist, but would it feel the same? Would lovers look up at cold stars, distant and sharp, and feel the same intimacy? The moon gives love a symbol, gentle, faithful, cyclical. It tells us that love, like the moon, waxes and wanes, disappears and returns, but endures nonetheless. Consider longing. How many songs speak of looking at the moon and thinking of someone far away? Because the same moon shines for all, it becomes a bridge. Lovers separated by oceans could both look upward and see the same disk, the same glow. Soldiers far from home could look at it and feel connected to their families. Without it, what symbol would we have chosen? The sun, too harsh. The stars. To many, only the moon was singular enough, gentle enough, steady enough to hold our longing. Even sorrow has been carried by the moon. Think of how many times you have seen it during lonely nights, shining above you when silence felt heavy. Its presence does not erase sadness, but it shares it, softens it, turns it into reflection. The moon tells us that darkness is not emptiness, that even in the night there is a companion. Without it, perhaps loneliness would feel deeper, sorrow, sharper nights, more absolute, and then there is madness. Ancient people believed the moon could alter the mind, stirring wildness. Full moons were said to make people restless, to awaken wolves, to change tides not only of the ocean but of the brain. Whether true or not, the belief shows how deeply the moon is linked with our psyche. It is not only light, it is mood, a presence that stirs something primal. Philosophically, the moon teaches us that emotions, like it, have phases. Joy waxes, sorrow wanes, love grows full, then hides, only to return. The moon shows us that feelings are not linear, not permanent, but cyclical. That absence does not mean loss, and fullness does not mean forever. Without this metaphor, perhaps we would judge our emotions more harshly. With it, we see them as natural rhythms, as phases of a larger whole. Imagine now a world without the moon. Nights are darker, but more than that, emotions are poorer in symbol. Language loses moonlight, moonstruck, honeymoon. Lovers lose their lantern, poets lose their muse, dreamers lose their symbol of longing. The inner world feels less reflected, less mirrored. People would still feel deeply, but their metaphors would be fewer. Their symbols colder, but because we do have the moon, our emotions are enriched. We have a gentle companion that shares in love, in sorrow, in longing, in madness. We have a mirror in the sky that reflects not only sunlight, but our own hearts. And there is gratitude in this. For the moon reminds us that emotions are not flaws, they are tides. That restlessness, sadness, joy, and hope all have their phases. That, just as the moon waxes and wanes, so do we. Its rhythm is our rhythm. Its light is our metaphor. So as you breathe now, think of your own emotions. Think of the times you have felt sorrow under the moon, or love, or longing. Think of the times you have whispered to it, or simply sat in its glow. Realize that you were part of something ancient, something universal, something countless generations have felt. The moon has always been there, holding those feelings with you, carrying them across time. The moon is more than stone in orbit. It is emotion embodied. It shapes our inner world as surely as it shapes tides. Without it, we would still feel, but with it, we feel more richly, more deeply, more humanly as you drift into sleep. Let this thought soothe you. Your emotions are tides, rising and falling, waxing and waning. They are natural, they are ancient, they are shared with every person who ever looked at the moon. And just as the moon always returns, so too will light return to your heart, again and again. The moon is not only a light in the sky, it is a bond across humanity. No matter where you stand on earth, no matter which language you speak, which flag you carry, which story you believe, the same moon rises above you. It does not change for borders. It does not favor one nation over another. It shines for all, equally, quietly, faithfully. Think of this for a moment. When someone in the mountains of Peru looks up and sees a full moon, at that same time someone on the plains of Africa, someone on the islands of Japan, someone in the deserts of Arabia are seeing the same glow, separated by oceans, by distance, by culture, but united by a single lantern. The moon has been humanity's shared companion, long before we spoke to each other across continents, long before technology connected us. Without the moon, this unity would feel weaker. Stars are many, but they are scattered, different from one horizon to another. The sun is shared, yes, but it is too overwhelming, too blinding to gaze at in reverence. Only the moon offered that balance. Visible, gentle, accessible, it became the common ground of the sky, the one constant image all humans could agree upon. Think of rituals. Across civilizations, lunar calendars, guided festivals, the Jewish Passover, the Islamic Ramadan, the Chinese Mid-Autumn festival, all marked by the phases of the moon. Ancient Druids gathered for solstice rituals under its glow. Farmers planted by it. Fishermen trusted it. Entire cultures built their sacred time upon its cycle. Without it, calendars might have been purely solar, practical but less intimate. The shared sense of monthly rhythm, of coming together beneath phases of the same sky, might never have emerged. The moon also united myth. Though stories differed, patterns echoed. The Greeks saw Selene, the goddess, driving a chariot. The Hindus saw Chandra, riding across the heavens. The Chinese saw Change, living in her lunar palace. The Japanese saw Tsukuyomi. In Mesoamerica, the Maya wove lunar deities into their calendars. Across continents, the moon became divine, sacred, important. It was not the same story, but it was the same canvas. Different people, same lantern. Without it, myths might have scattered more widely, less connected, less resonant across the globe. Even in war and division, the moon remained untouchable. Nations fought over land, over seas, over resources, but not over the moon. It was too far to claim, too equal to all. And when finally humans did reach it in the 20th century, though one nation planted its flag, the images of that moment belonged to everyone. The phrase for all mankind captured what the moon had always been: universal. Consider also the emotional unity it gives. Lovers across the world, separated by distance, could look at the same moon and feel close. Parents told children bedtime, stories under it, in every language, in every culture. Poets described its glow differently, but always tenderly. Without it, the night sky would still inspire, but each culture might feel more alone beneath it. The moon's presence was a reminder. We share this world. We share this sky. Philosophically, the moon teaches us that unity does not require sameness. Different cultures, different languages, different myths, but the same moon. Unity is not erasing differences, but holding them beneath one light. Without the moon, perhaps humanity would have found other unifying symbols, but few could match its universality. Fire, water, earth, these are shared, but local. The moon is global. It ties every person, everywhere, every night. Now imagine a moonless world. People still gaze at stars, but their constellations differ more dramatically from region to region. Their calendars diverge more, without a shared lunar rhythm. Their myths scatter further, without a single glowing disk to inspire. Humanity might feel less connected, more fragmented, more separate beneath the night sky. Without the moon, we would still be one species, but perhaps we would feel it less. And yet, with the moon, unity grows quietly. Think of the moment when astronauts turned their cameras back to Earth. From the moon, they saw a small, fragile sphere hanging alone in blackness. That image, the Earthrise, united humanity in awe. It reminded us that we are not many nations, but one world. And that image was only possible because of the moon, our vantage point outward. The moon gave us perspective, not only of itself, but of ourselves. Today, as we look toward the future, the moon may unite us again. Nations speak of returning, of building bases, of exploring further. Perhaps one day humanity will stand together. On its surface, not as rivals, but as collaborators, as one species reaching outward. The moon has always belonged to all. Perhaps our future upon it will reflect that truth. Pause now and feel this unity yourself. Think of all the people tonight, in cities and villages, mountains and valleys, all looking at the same moon. Some may notice it with awe, some barely glance, some pray, some dream, some simply rest beneath it. All are held by the same light. You are part of that, connected to them by a silver thread stretched across the sky. The moon is more than gravity and reflection. It is communion. It is the one sky shared, the one symbol untouched by borders. Without it, our unity would be harder to feel. With it, we are reminded, night after night, that we belong not only to ourselves, but to each other. So, as you drift toward sleep, imagine the moon rising above forests, deserts, oceans, cities. Imagine billions of eyes turning toward it all at once. Imagine the quiet connection of humanity beneath its glow, and let it comfort you. You are never alone beneath this sky. For most nights, the moon is constant. It rises, it sets, it waxes and wanes with gentle predictability. But sometimes it surprises. Sometimes it steps into shadow. Sometimes it passes before the sun. And in those rare moments, the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The moon teaches us not only steadiness, but also mystery. Think of a solar eclipse. The moon, so much smaller than the sun, passes in front of it, and for a few minutes, day turns to night. Birds quiet, air chills, stars appear. The sun's corona, usually hidden, blazes like a crown of fire. People gather to watch, in awe, in silence. It is one of nature's grandest spectacles, and it is possible only because of a cosmic coincidence. The moon and sun appear nearly the same size in our sky. The sun is about 400 times larger, but also about 400 times farther away. Without the moon, this alignment would never happen. Our skies would never carry that wonder dot. Think of a lunar eclipse. Earth's shadow falls across the moon, and it turns red, glowing like an ember. For ancient people, it was omen, warning, mystery. For modern people, it is still magic. The sight of the moon transformed, its silver light replaced by crimson, reminds us that even familiar things can change into something strange. Without the moon, the drama of eclipses would vanish. Our skies would still be beautiful, but less theatrical, less mysterious. Eclipses unite us in wonder. Across cultures, people once rang bells, lit fires, prayed to protect the moon or sun during these events. Today, we travel great distances to stand under their paths. Few things bring so many people together in shared awe. The moon makes that possible. Without it, the edge of mystery in the sky would feel quieter. But eclipses are not the only wonders. The moon's phases themselves are small mysteries. Imagine ancient people watching as it grew night by night, then shrank away. Where did it go? Why did it change? Why did it vanish, then return? These questions seeded myths, but also science. Observing the moon's changes taught us about cycles, about time, about orbit and light. Without it, our first mysteries might have been fewer, our curiosity slower to bloom, and then there are rarer wonders still. A supermoon, when it appears larger because it is closer. A blue moon, the second full moon in a month. Harvest moon, glowing orange above fields. Each variation a small reminder that even the familiar can surprise us. Without the moon, nights would lack these small, delightful variations. They would be steady, but less enchanting. Philosophically, the moon teaches us that mystery is part of beauty, that the familiar can suddenly become strange, that shadow can reveal light, that small things can hide giants. A solar eclipse shows us humility, our great sun dimmed by a small companion. A lunar eclipse shows us transformation silver turned to red. Without these lessons, our philosophy of mystery might be less rich. We might see the universe only as predictable, not as full of surprises. Mystery stirs imagination. How many myths were born from eclipses? Stories of dragons swallowing the moon, of gods battling in the sky, of omens for kings and nations. Today, we know the science, but the awe remains. We still gather, still look upward, still feel wonder. The moon reminds us that knowledge does not erase mystery, it deepens it. To understand the geometry of eclipses is to marvel at its precision, at its unlikeliness, at its beauty. Imagine now a world without the moon. No eclipses, no phases, no surprises. The sky is steady but flat. Nights are dark, days are bright, but never transformed. Mystery still exists, yes, in comets, in stars, in storms, but less near, less intimate. Without the moon, the edge of mystery would be thinner. Humanity might still dream, but dream less vividly. Yet with the moon, our dreams expand. We see that the universe is not only steady but dramatic, that even silence holds surprise, that even companions can astonish. The moon is a reminder that life is not only about constancy, but about the moments that break pattern, that take our breath, that turn ordinary into extraordinary. Pause and imagine yourself under an eclipse. The sky darkens, people gasp, the sun becomes a ring of fire. For a few minutes, you feel the universe itself pause. That feeling is a gift of the moon. Without it, you would never know that sensation. With it, you carry memory of mystery made visible, and perhaps this is why the moon touches us so deeply. It is steady, but not dull. It is constant, but not static. It teaches us rhythm, but also surprise. It gives us light, but also shadow. It is balance and mystery, both. As you breathe. Now, imagine the moon's shadow falling across Earth. Imagine its silver disk glowing red. Imagine its size swelling on the horizon. Feel the awe of it, the quiet astonishment, and know that such moments remind us that we live in a universe capable of wonder, capable of mystery, capable of beauty beyond measure. The moon is not only companion, it is magician. It plays with shadow, with light, with perception. It reminds us that even the most familiar presence can transform into something new. And as you rest, let that lesson comfort you. Mystery is not something to fear, but something to embrace. We have wandered long beneath the moon's glow. We have imagined Earth without its tides weaker, its tilt unstable, its nights darker, its myths emptier. We have seen how it has shaped our oceans, our climates, our calendars, our language, our imagination, even our emotions. And now, as this journey comes to rest, we arrive at a final reflection. What is the moon's greatest gift? Perhaps it is this, the gift of balance. The moon holds Earth steady, softens its wobble, lengthens its days, pulls its seas. It balances night against darkness, mystery against fear, constancy against change. It gives us rhythms we can trust, cycles we can live by, metaphors we can carry into our hearts. Without it, the world would still turn, but less gently, less harmoniously. With it, the world becomes livable, poetic, meaningful. Perhaps it is the gift of connection. The moon ties all of us to the same sky, across nations, across centuries, across languages. It is the one lantern every person has seen. It is the common reference point in our myths, our calendars, our dreams. It reminds us that no matter how different we are, we share this world, this sky, this companion. Without it, unity would be harder to feel. With it, we are quietly bound together, or perhaps it is the gift of mystery. For the moon has always been both known and unknown. We see it every night, and yet it still surprises us with eclipses, with phases, with reflections of light. It invites questions, fuels curiosity, stirs imagination. It is near enough to touch, yet far enough to dream of. Without it, the sky would be flatter, less dramatic, less mysterious. With it, we are reminded that the universe holds wonder even in the most familiar things. And still, perhaps the greatest gift is presence. The moon does not speak, does not act, does not change its orbit for us. It simply is, and in being, it changes everything. Sometimes the most powerful influences in our lives are not the loud ones, but the quiet ones, the steady companions, the constants we take for granted. The moon teaches us that presence itself can be transformative. Without it, Earth would be other than it is. Without it, we would be other than we are. Imagine now a night without the moon. Stars shine, but the sky feels colder. Oceans move, but with less pulse. Earth turns, but with less stability. Humanity dreams, but with less intimacy. That absence reminds us of the moon's true gift, not only what it gives, but what it means. It is not only a satellite, it is a partner. It is part of Earth's identity, part of humanity's soul. And so, as we close this reflection, let us return to the beginning. The question was, what if the moon never existed? The answer is layered. Life might still have emerged, but differently. Earth might still have turned, but less steadily. Humans might still have dreamed, but less tenderly. The moon is not necessary in the most basic sense. Planets can exist without moons. Stars can shine without them. But for us, the moon has been more than necessary. It has been formative, shaping not only our planet, but our perspective, philosophically. This is the lesson, that even small companions matter. The moon is tiny compared to Earth, minuscule compared to the sun, a speck compared to the galaxy, and yet it has changed everything. It reminds us that scale is not destiny, that even the smallest presence, faithfully given, can alter the course of worlds. As you rest now, think of this gift. The moon rising tonight is the same moon that watched over your ancestors, the same moon that guided sailors, inspired poets, pulled tides, steadied climates. It is the same moon that will shine tomorrow, and the same moon that will shine when you are gone. It is continuity, presence, rhythm, a gift beyond measure, given freely, silently. Always so, close your eyes and imagine the moon. Imagine its silver light falling across forests, seas, and cities. Imagine its pull on the tides, its shield against chaos, its role in myths, in dreams, in science, in love. Imagine what the world would be without it, and then feel gratitude that we do not live in that world. We live in a world with a moon, a world balanced, enriched, inspired, a world where the night has a lantern, where the sea has a pulse, where time has a rhythm, where humanity has a muse. And as you drift into sleep, let this thought cradle you. The moon is not only above you, it is within you, in your rhythms, in your emotions, in your imagination, in your very being. It has always been with you, and it always will. The moon is Earth's companion. The moon is humanity's muse. The moon is your quiet gift, and tonight it watches over you still. Without the moon, these myths would vanish. The gods would change shape. The stories would shift focus. Perhaps humans would have placed more divine weight on Venus or Mars, planets that shine brightly, but never as constantly as the moon. Perhaps Entire festivals and traditions would not exist. The cultural map of humanity would be drawn differently. Even in modern times, the moon remains central to our inner lives. Think of the countless poems that lean on moonlight as metaphor. Think of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, music that seems to shimmer like silver across dark waters. Think of love songs, of whispered confessions beneath a glowing sky, of artists painting the moon as symbol of longing or mystery. Without it, the vocabulary of romance itself would be altered. We would still love, of course, but our expressions of it would lack a certain glow. The word moonlit would mean nothing. The imagery of walking hand in hand beneath the moon would never have been born. And then there is the emotional rhythm. Many people feel something shift when the moon is full. Perhaps it is the brightness, perhaps something deeper, but its presence changes the mood of the night. Festivals gather under it, dances are performed, ceremonies held. A full moon feels like an event, a reminder that the sky is alive with cycles. Without it, nights would all feel more alike. The variety of the night sky, the anticipation of a waxing moon, the drama of an eclipse, the sudden brilliance of a supermoon would be erased. Nights would become flat, predictable, unchanging. Consider, too, the way the moon has been a bridge between humans and the cosmos. When humanity dreamed of space, it dreamed first of the moon. It was close enough to imagine touching. Stars were unreachable planets too far, but the moon was visible in detail. It invited curiosity. It whispered, "Come closer." The Apollo missions, the first steps beyond Earth, went to the moon precisely because it felt within reach. Without it, perhaps the dream of space would have been delayed. Humanity might have hesitated longer, unsure where to go, uncertain what to reach for. The moon was both destination and symbol, a reminder that space was not infinite distance, but a neighborhood with neighbors in a moonless world. That first step outward might not have happened when it did. The stars would still be there, but none of them would feel like home. So, as we sit with this thought, the moon, absent from culture, from story, from art, from the spark of exploration, we begin to see how deeply it has shaped not only survival, but identity. Humanity without the moon would still be human, yes, but the myths would be different, the art would be different. The very sense of connection between earth and sky would be thinner. The moon is not necessary for breath or heartbeat, or life in the simplest sense, but it is necessary for the fullness of human imagination. It filled the nights with rhythm, with poetry, with inspiration. Remove it, and humanity feels more earthbound, less connected to the heavens, less inspired to look up and dream. As you rest here, listening to these thoughts, imagine how many small moments of history would dissolve if the moon had never existed. No ancient chants marking its cycles, no lovers' songs written under its glow, no astronauts standing in its dust. Gazing back at Earth, the human story would be narrower, dimmer, quieter. The moon, then, is not only rock in orbit, it is culture in orbit. It is imagination in orbit. It is memory, myth, music, and meaning. Without it, our nights would be darker, but so too would our souls. Up until now, we have lingered in stories, myths, music, metaphors. We have seen the moon as it lives in our culture and imagination. But the moon is not only a lantern for the human heart, it is an anchor for the planet itself. Its presence is stitched into the very physics of Earth, and if it had never existed, Earth's rhythm would be profoundly different. Let us begin with the tides. Each day in our world, oceans rise and fall. Water swells toward the moon, pulled gently by gravity, then ebbs away again as the planet turns. This cycle is so constant, so ordinary, that many people never pause to consider it. Yet tides shape coastlines, nurture ecosystems, and even guided the early steps of life from sea to land. Without the moon, tides would still exist, but weaker, gentler, driven only by the sun. Imagine an ocean that barely stirs, its surface calmer, less dynamic. In such a world, tidal pools might never have formed in the same way. On our Earth, small creatures were caught in those pools, adapting slowly to life in shallow waters, then crawling onto shore. The moon's pool, in some quiet sense, was midwife to life's great leap. Without it, perhaps the story of evolution would have slowed, or taken another path entirely. The land might have remained quieter for longer. The diversity of ecosystems delayed by millions of years. But tides are more than cradles of evolution. They are engineers of coastlines, sculptors of estuaries, providers of nutrients. They wash. Salt and minerals circulate food for countless species. Picture a world where oceans are more stagnant, shorelines less fertile, rhythms less pronounced. Marine life would adapt. Of course, it always does, but the richness of our coasts might be diminished. Coral reefs, fisheries, migrations, all would feel the absence of that steady gravitational drumbeat. Now shift your gaze upward from the ocean to the tilt of the planet itself. Earth is not upright. It leans about 23.5 degrees, giving us seasons. And that tilt is stabilized by the moon. Without the moon's steadying influence, Earth's axis would wobble unpredictably. Sometimes it might tilt far more, sometimes far less. The result would be chaos for climate. Imagine winters plunging into brutal severity one century, only for the planet to tip into scorching summers in another. Entire regions might swing between frozen deserts and humid jungles over geological time. Such instability would make it difficult for ecosystems to adapt. Species that rely on predictable seasons, migrations of birds, blooming of plants, cycles of reproduction would be thrown into confusion. Agriculture, if it ever arose, would face challenges far greater than those we know. A wobbling Earth might still host life, but it would be a life under constant adjustment, never settled, always bracing for the next climatic shift. This wobble has another name: precession. Even with the moon, Earth wobbles slowly over tens of thousands of years, shifting the timing of ice ages. Without the moon, that wobble could be wild, destabilizing, too swift for ecosystems to follow. Climate might swing like a pendulum, sometimes freezing, sometimes boiling, leaving only the hardiest forms of life clinging to survival. Perhaps intelligent life would never arise, not because the universe forbade it, but because the stage kept shifting beneath its feet. And then there is the rhythm of day itself. Right now, Earth takes about 24 hours to turn once. That rhythm feels natural to us: morning, noon, evening, night. But it is not fixed. Long ago, days were shorter. Billions of years back, when the planet was young, a day may have been as little as 6 hours. The moon's pull has been gradually slowing Earth's spin, lengthening days into the cycle we know. Without the moon, that braking force would not exist. Earth would spin faster, days shorter, nights briefer. Imagine a world where a day is 12 hours long, or even less. The sun would race across the sky. Shadows would stretch and vanish in quick succession. life would evolve to a rhythm we can scarcely imagine, with sleep and activity compressed into shorter cycles. Circadian rhythms, so central to biology, would have taken another form. Our own bodies might have been tuned to a rapid pace. Our metabolism different, our very sense of time altered, and with a faster spin comes fiercer winds. The atmosphere, whipped by speed, would create storms of unusual power. The surface of Earth might be marked by violent weather patterns, driven not only by heat, but by the sheer velocity of rotation. Landscapes would be shaped differently. Migration patterns, ecosystems, the very possibilities of shelter and survival would shift. So we see that the moon is not just an ornament in the sky. It is a sculptor of time, of climate, of oceans. Without it, Earth is still a planet, still alive, still capable of supporting life, but a different life, a harsher life, perhaps a more precarious one. The moon's absence is not only poetry lost, it is stability lost, it is rhythm lost. And yet, there is something humbling in this, because when we imagine the Earth without the moon, we realize how finely balanced our world truly is. Life depends on a tilt that stays steady, on tides that rise and fall, on days that unfold at a certain pace. Remove one celestial companion, and all of those things shift. The familiar world unravels into something strange, unpredictable, unstable, as you rest with these thoughts. Notice the quiet awe they invite. Our planet is not inevitable. Its balance is not guaranteed. It is the outcome of relationships with sun, Earth with moon, Earth with all the forces around it. Without those relationships, Earth would still be Earth, but not the Earth we know. Not the Earth that carries our songs, our seasons, our lives. So the moon, silent and constant, is not only a lamp in the night sky, it is an architect of oceans, a stabilizer of seasons, a timekeeper of days, and in its absence we glimpse the fragility of everything we take for granted. Tonight, as you drift, hold that thought gently. The world you know depends on quiet partnerships. The moon is one of them. Without it, Earth would be other than it is, and you, perhaps, would be other than you are. Let us drift further back, not just to the world as it is today, but to the very beginnings, to the time when Earth itself was forming, a young, restless world circling the sun. In our reality, the moon was born from violence, a collision billions of years ago between Earth and a wandering body the size of Mars. Rock and molten fragments were cast into orbit, drawn together by gravity, and slowly became the companion we now call the moon. But what if that impact had never occurred? What if Earth had continued alone, without a satellite forming from the debris? The consequences would echo through every stage of Earth's story, reshaping not only landscapes, but life itself. First, the early Earth without a moon would have been faster, hotter, more chaotic. With no lunar partner to slow its spin, days might have remained very short, perhaps 6, 8, or 10 hours long. The young oceans, if they formed at all, would be whipped by rapid winds, their surfaces stormy and unstable. The cycles of day and night, rushing by in half the time, would set a different rhythm for the chemistry of life. Reactions that depend on cycles of light and dark, heating and cooling, might have unfolded differently. Perhaps slower, perhaps faster, perhaps not at all. The absence of tides in those early days is even more profound. Tidal pools, those little laboratories of nature, where molecules were trapped and concentrated, exposed to cycles of wet and dry, played a role in Emergence of life. Without the moon's strong tides, those pools would have been smaller, weaker, rarer. The constant mixing of ocean water, the stirring that brought nutrients to shorelines, might never have reached the same richness. Life could still have begun, of course, but its pathway might have been altered. Would complex chains of molecules have assembled without those tidal rhythms? Would the leap from chemistry to biology have taken longer, or taken a different shape altogether? Now imagine that. Life did arise, even in this moonless earth. Its evolution would still face challenges. Without a stabilizing tilt, climates would swing unpredictably. Ice ages might appear suddenly, followed by fierce warming. Evolution thrives on variation, but not on chaos. Species need time to adapt. If seasons shift too violently, ecosystems may collapse before stability can take root. In such a world, life may remain simple for far longer. Microbes, bacteria, single cells clinging to survival while climates swing like a pendulum. The grand story of multicellular life, with its forests and animals and humans, might never unfold. And yet life is stubborn. It finds niches, it adapts, it endures. Perhaps, in some quiet corner of this moonless earth, evolution would still manage to build complexity. But it might be slower. Intelligent life, if it came at all, might emerge millions or billions of years later than it did in our reality. By then, the sun itself might be closer to the end of its stable life, the window for flourishing narrower. There is another way to imagine it. Without the moon, Earth might never have become such a fertile planet at all. That great impact which created the moon also shaped Earth's own geology. It may have stripped away parts of Earth's early atmosphere, preventing it from becoming too thick and suffocating. As happened on Venus, it may have stirred Earth's interior, influencing its magnetic field, its volcanism, its composition. In this sense, the moon is not only a companion, it is part of Earth's origin story. Remove it, and Earth itself may not resemble the planet we know. It might be more like Venus, thick air, crushing heat, uninhabitable, or like Mars, thin atmosphere, fragile and exposed. So the question is not only whether life would evolve without the moon, but whether Earth would even be capable of holding it. In a way, the moon is not separate from Earth's story. It is woven into its very foundations. To take it away is not just to dim the night sky. It is to rewrite the earliest chapters of the planet's book. And if humanity never appeared, if creatures like us never looked up at the sky, then the absence of the moon would not only silence myths and poems, it would silence the act of asking this question. Because we too are consequences of that ancient collision. Our ability to wonder, to imagine, to gaze at the heavens, all of it rests on conditions shaped by the moon's existence. It is humbling, isn't it? To realize how many delicate threads are woven together to allow not only life, but conscious life. We are here, lying under this sky, imagining alternatives, only because of a chain of events billions of years old. Remove one link, and perhaps none of this would be, and yet there is comfort in imagining the alternative. A moonless Earth may never have given rise to us, but it reminds us of how fragile and precious this version of Earth truly is. It invites us to see our companion not as an afterthought, but as part of our very being. As you let these thoughts drift through you, notice how they soften into wonder. A world without the moon is darker, harsher, more unstable, perhaps lifeless, perhaps less kind. And so the world with the moon feels more miraculous. Its presence becomes a gift you had not noticed, a quiet partner in everything you are, So close your eyes and picture that ancient collision again. A flash, a storm of molten rock, a scattering of debris that slowly circled, slowly gathered, slowly became the glowing companion above. Without it, we might not be here. With it, we are. The difference is everything. And so the moon is not only in the sky. It is in us, in every breath, every cell, every thought that asks what if. For without it, we would not ask at all when. We imagine the moon never existing. We are not only imagining a different earth, we are imagining a different sense of companionship. For the moon is more than rock in orbit. It is presence. It is witness. It is the quiet reminder, night after night, that Earth is not alone. What does it mean, then, to picture a world without such a companion? Consider loneliness, not human. Loneliness, but planetary loneliness. Earth turning endlessly, lit by the sun, circled by stars, yet missing the constant dance of its satellite. Other planets in our solar system have moons, some dozens, some more than 80. Jupiter's moons whirl like a miniature solar system. Saturn's rings cradle icy companions. Even distant Neptune carries a satellite, Triton, caught long ago. Only Earth without a moon would feel singular, stripped of its partner. Would it? Feel less like a home and more like an accident. For us humans, companionship is not merely about utility, it is about meaning. We give meaning to relationships, to bonds, to things that stay beside us. The moon has been that silent companion, loyal across ages, appearing and reappearing with predictable grace. A world without it might feel colder, less intimate. The sky would still glitter with stars, but stars are too far to lean on, too distant to whisper to. The moon is different because it feels near, like a lantern hung just beyond the treetops. Without it, the night would feel emptier. This emptiness shapes not only mood, but philosophy. For centuries, thinkers have looked at the moon and asked questions of purpose, of origin, of destiny. Aristotle mused on its perfect spheres. Galileo turned his telescope toward its craters, seeing that even the heavens were flawed and rough. Philosophers saw in the moon a paradox, both distant and close, both unreachable and familiar. In a moonless earth, perhaps philosophy itself would have taken a different path. Lacking that reflective surface in the sky, humans might have leaned more heavily on the sun-fiery, harsh absolute, or on the endless stars, abstract and unreachable. The moon gave philosophies something gentler, something relatable, a cosmic mirror in which to see ourselves. And then there is balance. The moon represents balance in motion. Its pull keeps Earth steady. Its light balances the dark. Its cycle balances the year. Without it, imbalance becomes the theme. A wobbling planet, shifting climates, unpredictable nights, life itself would reflect that chaos. And philosophically, perhaps humans would have grown accustomed to instability. Instead of dreaming of harmony, they might have seen the universe as disorderly, unreliable, without companions to trust. The moon has taught us, quietly, that the cosmos can contain patterns, rhythms, constancy. Without it, our worldview might have leaned more toward randomness. But let us not only see loss. Sometimes absence teaches in its own way. A world without the moon might have forced humans to look differently at themselves, to create meaning without such a visible companion. Perhaps people would have invested more in the stars, mapping them in even greater detail, weaving richer constellations, finding companionship in clusters of light rather than in one great lantern. Maybe art and myth would have turned more heavily to planets, imagining gods not on the moon, but on Mars or Venus. Perhaps humanity's longing for companionship would have turned inward, creating stronger bonds with each other, since the sky offered less. Still, it is difficult to imagine this world feeling as tender. There is something deeply human in looking up and seeing a face, a surface with shadows, shapes, craters, markings, things we can imagine into eyes and mouths. The moon is not smooth and distant, but marked and personal. Without it, the heavens would feel colder, less like a story and more like a calculation. There is also the question of inspiration. How many dreams have been carried upward by the moon? Children staring at its glow, poets weaving verses under its light, lovers whispering beneath its gaze. The moon has been a source of longing, not only for romance, but for exploration. One day we will go there, people said, and we did. The moon was reachable in imagination before it was reachable in reality. Without it, perhaps our eyes would have turned less eagerly outward. Perhaps we would have been content with Earth alone. From this perspective, the moon is more than a companion. It is a bridge. It connects the human heart to the cosmos, reminding us that space is not entirely alien, that there are neighbors within reach. Without it, the bridge would be missing, and maybe humanity would have felt stranded, marooned on its planet with nothing nearby to dream of. Now let us imagine philosophy. In a moonless culture, perhaps their metaphors would shift. Without moonlight, there would be only starlight or sunlight. Without cycles of waxing and waning, the metaphors of growth and return would fade. Their languages might carry fewer words for cycles, fewer words for reflection, and yet, perhaps new words would arise, drawn from winds, or rivers, or fire. Humanity always finds symbols, but the moon has given us some of the gentlest, most enduring symbols we know. Pause for a moment and feel the weight of this. To think of a world without the moon is to think of a world with less softness, less rhythm, less companionship. The nights darker, the philosophies starker, the myths less luminous. And yet, this exercise is not meant to sadden. It is meant to deepen our appreciation, to show how a silent companion has shaped not only physics, but feelings, not only tides, but tenderness, not only orbits, but imagination. As you breathe slowly, let this reflection settle. The moon is more than an object in the sky. It is a reminder that companionship exists at every scale. Planets have satellites. People have each other. The universe is not empty. It is threaded with bonds. So when you next see the moon, know that it is not only a companion to Earth, it is a companion to you. And in imagining its absence, you come to understand how much it has given, not by speaking, not by acting, but simply by being there, faithfully, quietly, always returning. The moon teaches us that presence alone can change everything. We have lingered on our own world, imagining how Earth would stumble without its moon, its tides weakened, its axis wandering, its nights darkened. But now, let us lift our gaze outward to other planets and possibilities. For the question grows larger. Could a world without a moon still nurture life? In our solar system, Earth is unusual. It has one large, dominant satellite. Most other planets have many smaller moons, or none of significance. Mars, for example, carries only 2 Phobos and Deimos, tiny companions that look more like captured asteroids than true satellites. They tug weakly at the Martian surface, offering little in the way of stabilizing force. And yet, we wonder, Could Mars have been a cradle for life despite this? Perhaps yes, perhaps no. Mars once held rivers, lakes, perhaps even oceans. But without a large moon to steady it, its tilt shifted more freely, its climate grew erratic, its atmosphere thin. Life, if it ever arose there, was pressed into hiding or extinction. A lesson, perhaps, that moons matter more than they appear. Then look to Venus, similar in size to Earth, wrapped in thick clouds of carbon dioxide. Venus has no moon at all. Its atmosphere swirls in chaos. Its surface burns hot enough to melt. Lead. Could it be that without a moon, Venus tipped toward this furnace state? Not entirely, for its closeness to the sun also plays its role, but still, the absence is telling. No tide to stir oceans, no steadying hand to hold the tilt. The result is a planet unkind to life, or at least to life as we know it. But then, cast your eyes farther still, to exoplanets' worlds circling other stars. We have found thousands of them scattered across the galaxy. Some are giants, some small, some in the so-called habitable zone where liquid water might flow. Many of these do not seem to have moons at all, at least none we can yet detect. Could life thrive on such places? Could forests rise, oceans teem, creatures walk, without the gentle hand of a satellite? The answer, whispered softly, is maybe, because life is patient. Life adapts. It does not require exact copies of Earth. It requires only conditions where chemistry can dance, where molecules can join, where energy flows, where time is given. A planet without a moon may wobble, may face harsh seasons, may spin too fast, or too slow. Yet within that chaos, niches might still open. Microbes might find warmth in oceans, creatures might cling to valleys, intelligence might bloom in ways we cannot predict, and perhaps, in some distant galaxy, there are beings who live on a moonless world. They look up at their sky and see only stars, never knowing what it is to have a companion lantern. Their myths are different. Their sense of time is different. Their view of the cosmos is shaped by absence, not presence. To them, our Earth, with its great glowing satellite, might seem strange, even extravagant. They might wonder, what would it be like to live on a world with a moon? This symmetry is humbling. We ask what it would be like without the moon, and perhaps somewhere else. Others ask what it would be like with one. Perspective shifts like a tide, reminding us that our way is not the only way. Science tells us that moons do help. They stabilize. They nurture. They encourage the conditions we find familiar. But science also whispers that life is resilient. It may not need moons, only opportunity. If Earth had been born moonless, perhaps life would have still emerged different, slower, stranger, but not impossible. And so the question becomes less about certainty and more about imagination. What forms of life could rise in a moonless world? Would creatures evolve to track the stars more carefully, using them as guides where we use lunar cycles? Would their languages hold no word for month, but dozens of words for wind, season, or storm? Would their sleep be shorter, their rhythms faster, tuned to a planet that spins with greater speed? Philosophically, such beings might see the universe as less steady, more fluid. Without a moon to mark constancy, they might accept change as their only anchor. Their art might celebrate chaos, their myths might worship flux. Where we saw rhythm and return in the waxing and waning of the moon, they might see endless transformation in the shifting of skies. Their poetry might not ask for balance, it might embrace impermanence. Here, we learn something valuable. The moon has shaped our sense of stability, of rhythm, of companionship. But life elsewhere, life without moons, might carry a different wisdom. A wisdom that does not long for constancy, but for resilience. A wisdom that does not ask for cycles, but for adaptation. So yes, other planets without moons may host life, but that life would not mirror ours. It would be born in a different relationship to its sky. And in that difference, it would carry different myths, different dreams, different ways of being alive. When we look at the night sky, we see possibilities. We see not only what is, but what could be. And the absence of a moon on other worlds reminds us that our Earth is really not unique, perhaps, but unusual. Its story is one among countless others, each shaped by what it has, and by what it lacks. As you breathe quietly now, picture those other worlds. Oceans without tides, skies without lanterns, creatures dreaming without the moon, their lives unfolding under different rhythms, their songs carrying different notes. The universe is vast, and in that vastness, life may find many paths. Our moon gave us steadiness, rhythm, companionship. Without it, we might still exist, but we would be other than we are. And elsewhere, perhaps others exist without their moons, and they too are other than we can imagine. The moon teaches us not only by its presence, but by the thought of its absence. It reminds us that life is shaped by context, by relationships, by companions, and by the lack of them. And so, the question remains open. Could other planets without moons host life? The answer is not a certainty, but a possibility. A gentle yes, whispered in the language of adaptation. A yes that carries both humility and wonder. As you drift into rest, hold this thought softly. The universe writes countless stories. Ours is but one. And in imagining the others, we learn to cherish the one we have. Time is not only measured by clocks or calendars. Time is felt, lived, and shaped by the rhythms of nature. And among the many forces that mark time for us, the moon has always been one of the most gentle, most reliable. To imagine a world without it is to imagine a world where time itself feels different, less cyclical, less balanced, less familiar to the human heart. Think for a moment about how the moon has divided our days into months. Its waxing and waning carved the sky into segments, smaller than seasons, but larger than days. The moon gave us an intermediate rhythm, a way to measure life between the quick turning of the earth and the long orbit of the sun. Without it, perhaps our ancestors would have struggled to find such a rhythm. They might have leaned only on the sun, marking solstices and equinoxes, but missing the softer, more intimate cadence of the month. The month is not just a unit of time, it is a story. It is the story of growth and return, of fullness and emptiness, of loss and renewal. Every culture has felt it. Planting by the new moon, celebrating under the full moon, weaving myths into the in-between phases. Without the moon, those stories would be gone, and with them, a kind of reassurance. For the moon tells us that endings are not final. Darkness waxes into light again. Cycles repeat. Comfort is found in the return. Now imagine human life without that return. Nights would come and go, but without the gentle arc of waxing and waning. The stars would be fixed, the sun reliable, but the night sky would lack this pulse. Would our sense of time have felt harsher, more linear, less forgiving? Perhaps we would have seen time as a march forward only, not a cycle, not a renewal. Our calendars would be different, our rituals fewer, our metaphors colder. Seasons, too, are tied to the moon's presence. Not directly those are shaped by Earth's tilt, but indirectly, through the stability the moon provides. Without it, Earth's axis would wander, tilting more severely or less predictably. The result, seasons, would swing wildly. Summers scorching, winters freezing, their intensity shifting from century to century. Imagine trying to farm in such a world. One generation might plant grapes in a fertile valley, only to have their grandchildren see that same land buried in snow. Stability in seasons is what allows cultures to root themselves, to plan, to dream across generations. The moon has given that stability, quietly, by holding Earth steady. And then there is the rhythm inside our bodies. Human beings, like all living things, have circadian rhythms, internal clocks tuned to light and darkness, to cycles of day and night, but layered atop that is something subtler, lunar rhythm. Even now, studies suggest that sleep can shift with the moon, that moods, fertility, even the behavior of animals are nudged by its phases. For thousands of years, fishermen knew that tides and moonlight guided their catch. Farmers noticed growth. Under certain lunar cycles, animals, from crabs to birds to corals, still pulse with the moon's rhythm. Without it, life might still find cycles, but they would be different, perhaps harsher, more chaotic, less graceful. Imagine nights without the guiding glow of the moon. Festivals would not gather under its fullness. Lovers would not wait for its rising. Poets would not write of moonstruck hearts. The emotional rhythm of humanity would lack this gentle beat. Even our sleep, more restless under darker skies, might have carried a different shape. We would still dream, of course, but perhaps our dreams would feel more solitary, less touched by that soft silver light. Think also of the role the moon has played in uniting people. Across continents and centuries, humans who never met still shared the same sight, the same full moon rising, the same crescent sinking into dawn. It was a common reference, a shared marker. Without it, perhaps our cultures would have felt more separate, each under their own sky of stars, but missing the one companion every person on Earth has always seen. The moon is not just personal rhythm, it is collective rhythm, a reminder that across distance, across difference, we share the same night. From a philosophical view, the moon offers balance. The sun dominates the day, blazing, commanding, overwhelming. The moon answers with subtlety, quiet light, cooler, gentler, softer. Together, they balance our sense of time. Without the moon, the sun would reign unchallenged. The nights would be darker, yes, but also emptier of that balance. The cosmos would feel less like a dialogue and more like a monologue. One voice, without response. And perhaps this is why humanity has always turned to the moon, not only as a measure of time, but as a companion in time. It reassures us that cycles exist, that patience is rewarded, that darkness is temporary. Without it, our philosophies might lean more toward impermanence, less toward renewal. We might see life as fleeting, fragile, without the promise of return yet. In imagining this, notice how it deepens our gratitude. For the moon is not loud in its gifts. It does not command like the sun, nor dazzle like the stars. It whispers. It glows quietly. It turns night into something less absolute. It steadies seasons, lengthens days, carves months, shapes rhythms. Without it, time itself would be different. So as you breathe, Imagine the clock of the cosmos without the moon's hand. Imagine a world where nights pass with no cycle, where seasons shift wildly, where months have no name. Imagine humanity learning to live in that harsher rhythm, still surviving, still dreaming, but dreaming differently. And then open your eyes inwardly to this truth. The moon has given us balance. Balance between light and dark, between change and constancy, between solitude and companionship. And in that balance, we have found a gentler sense of time. The moon is not just a keeper of the night, it is a keeper of rhythm. And through its rhythm, we find ourselves. The moon does not only shape oceans and seasons, it shapes imagination. For as long as humans have gazed upward, the moon has been more than light. It has been canvas, mirror, muse. To picture a world without it is to picture an emptier library, a quieter gallery, a thinner DREAMSCAPE. Think of the earliest storytellers. Around fires, they pointed upward and said, their lives a goddess, a hunter, a rabbit, a spirit. The moon offered a stage 4 myth. Its changing face carried drama. Crescents like sickles, full discs like shields, darkened eclipses like omens. Without it, the heavens would have been flatter, less dramatic. The sun sets and rises with constancy. The stars remain still to the naked eye, but the moon changed. It transformed before our eyes, showing that the sky was alive. Without it, myths might have been rooted more in storms, in rivers, in mountains, but never in the sky itself with such intimacy. Consider art. From ancient cave paintings to modern canvases, the moon appears again and again. It hovers over temples, in Egyptian reliefs, glows behind lovers in Renaissance paintings, gleams in the bold strokes of Van Gogh's Starry Night. It has been etched into jewelry, carved into wood, woven into fabric. Without it, entire branches of symbolism vanish. The romance of moonlight, the metaphor of reflection, the cycle of waxing and waning, all absent. Painters might have painted only stars. Writers might have written only of the sun. Our emotional palette would be narrower, lacking silver tones, lacking metaphors of gentle glow. Music, too, owes much to the moon. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, Debussy's Clair de Lune, countless folk songs and lullabies. These pieces do more than mention the moon, they sound like it. Soft, reflective, shimmering, each note like light upon water. In a moonless world, such works would never have existed. Perhaps other metaphors would have taken their play-songs of starlight, of firelight, but the specific tenderness of moonlight would be missing. And with it, a part of our cultural soul. Dreams are not immune either. How many children have looked out their windows and dreamed of touching the moon? How many poets have felt it watching them as they wrote? How many people have whispered secrets to it, trusting that its silent glow would keep them safe? Without it, dreams would have turned elsewhere, perhaps, toward the stars. But stars are too distant, too sharp. The moon feels close, attainable, personal. It invited us to imagine leaving Earth, not as abstraction, but as possibility. One day we will go there, people said, and eventually we did. Would humanity have stepped into space so early without the moon's beckoning presence? Perhaps not. Perhaps the dream of flight and exploration would have been delayed. Our technological journey slowed by centuries. Philosophically, the moon has also been a teacher of paradox. It is both light and dark. It shines, but only by reflection. It appears constant, yet it changes nightly. It seems close, yet remains unreachable for most of human history. This paradox nurtured philosophy. It taught us that things can be two at once, that reality is layered, that the visible and invisible intertwine. Without it, philosophy might have leaned more heavily on the sun's absolutes or the stars' distances. The subtle lessons of contradiction might have been harder to glimpse. Imagination thrives on contrast. The moon gave us contrast between night and light, between permanence and change, between closeness and distance. Remove it, and imagination would adapt, but differently. A moonless humanity might still dream, but dream more harshly, more abstractly, less tenderly. Their art might praise fire, their myths might center storms, their songs might echo stars, but they would lack the quiet, reflective muse that the moon has always been. And yet, this is where absence speaks loudly. By imagining what would be, gone, we see how much the moon has given. It has given us metaphors of renewal, images of tenderness, dreams of possibility. It has given us the idea that the universe is not only grand and distant, but also intimate, close, and gentle. Pause now and think of your own life. How many times have you noticed the moon? Perhaps walking at night, feeling comfort in its glow. Perhaps on a quiet evening, seeing it rise over the horizon like a lantern lit for you alone. Even if you did not pause long, it was there, shaping mood, softening darkness. In small ways, it has shaped you to dot as you breathe slowly. Imagine all the art, music, stories, and dreams that would vanish in its absence. Imagine the shelves of libraries without moonlit poems, the stages without moonlit plays, the skies of paintings without that silver disc. Imagine songs that never shimmered, dreams that never reached outward. The silence of such a world would be profound, but then let that thought turn to gratitude, for we do have the moon. We do have those songs, those paintings, those dreams. We live in a world enriched by its glow. Its presence is a gift we did not ask for, but were given nonetheless. A muse that has inspired generations. And so, the moon is not only a companion in orbit, it is a companion in imagination. It has walked beside us in myth, in art, in music, in dreams. Without it, our inner worlds would be dimmer. With it, they shine. As you drift toward sleep, hold this softly. The moon is not just in the sky, it is in your imagination, your stories, your dreams. And in those dreams, it will rise again and again, waxing and waning, whispering that light returns, that beauty endures, that imagination is infinite. The ocean is a vast body, covering more than 2/3 of our planet. At first glance, it may seem still, endless, unmoving, but listen closely and you will hear its secret language spoken in rhythm, in rise and fall, in the steady breathing of tides. And at the heart of this language is the moon dot. Every day, the moons. Gravity reaches across space and pulls at the ocean, lifting water ever so slightly, drawing it toward itself. On the far side of Earth, inertia balances the dance, creating a second bulge. As our planet rotates, these bulges sweep across coastlines, creating high tides and low tides. A rhythm ancient and reliable dot. Now pause and imagine Earth without the moon. That rhythm becomes faint, almost a whisper. Tides would still exist, drawn by the sun, but they would be weaker, shallower, less dramatic. The great conversation between moon and ocean would fall silent, leaving only a faint murmur in its place. But why does this matter? Because tides are more than water moving in and out. They are lifeblood. They stir nutrients, oxygenate waters, carve estuaries, sustain marshes, guide migrations. Fish spawn in tidal currents, crabs scuttle with the moonlight, corals release eggs in synchrony with lunar phases. Entire ecosystems breathe with the moon's rhythm. Without it, those pulses would fade. Life would adapt, yes, but the richness, the abundance might not be the same. Think back to the origins of life. Scientists believe that tidal pools may have been laboratories for biology itself. Imagine shallow waters warmed by the sun, exposed. As tides recede, concentrating molecules, then refilled as tides return, mixing chemistry anew. In these small, repeated cycles, complexity was born. Molecules joined into chains, chains folded into shapes, shapes began to copy themselves. From these tiny laboratories came the first whispers of life, and all of it shaped by tides, shaped by the moon. If the moon had never existed, those pools would have been quieter, less dynamic. The cycle of wet and dry, weaker, slower, less insistent. Would life have still begun? Perhaps, but perhaps later, or differently. Without the moon's pull, evolution's clock might have ticked slower. The leap from chemistry to biology might have stumbled. The entire story of life on Earth might have been delayed or altered beyond recognition. Even now, the pulse of the ocean shapes life everywhere. Birds migrate by lunar cues. Sea turtles crawl onto beaches, guided by the moon's light, laying eggs where tides will protect them. The spawning of fish, the swarming of plankton, the very availability of food in the sea is tied to tidal motion. Without the moon, many of these patterns would unravel. The web of life would still exist, but its threads would be thinner, its fabric weaker. Consider also how tides shape not just life, but land itself. Estuaries, those fertile meeting points of river and sea, are sculpted by tidal flows. Salt marshes rise and fall, mangroves spread their roots, coastlines are drawn and redrawn by the steady breath of the ocean. Without strong tides, these landscapes would change. Coasts might stagnate, estuaries might shrink, nutrient cycles might falter. The richness of Earth's edges, the meeting places of land and sea would be diminished. And yet, tides do more than shape biology and geology. They shape imagination, too. Sailors once read tides as carefully as stars. Fishermen waited for their pull. Poets wrote of the sea's breathing. Lovers walked along beaches where waves reached and retreated like sighs. Without the moon's tides, the ocean would still be vast and mysterious, but less rhythmic, less conversational. It would speak in monotone instead of melody. Philosophically, tides teach us about connection. They remind us that even across space, forces act, that the moon, hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, can move oceans here on our shores. Without it, we might feel more isolated, less aware of cosmic relationships. The moon shows us that we are not separate from the heavens. We are in dialogue with them, pulled and held and balanced. Now imagine standing on a moonless earth, beside a calm ocean. The water laps softly, but never surges, never retreats in rhythm. It is beautiful, but quiet, missing the steady pulse we have always known. Perhaps in such a world, we would never have learned to see rhythm in nature so clearly. Perhaps music, itself so tied to cycles and patterns, would sound different. Perhaps our own heartbeat would feel less mirrored by the world outside. But because we do have tides, because we do have the moon, we have learnt to hear that rhythm. to see that the world breathes as we breathe, that nature pulses as we do. It is no coincidence that so many human songs echo with waves, with beats, with cycles of return. We are ocean creatures still, shaped by tides, carried by rhythms written in water and gravity. As you breathe now, notice how your chest rises and falls like a tide. How sleep itself is a kind of tide, drawing you inward, then outward into dreams. The moon and the ocean taught us this language long before we could name it. It is written in every wave, in every breath, in every rhythm that carries life forward. So what would Earth be without the moon? It would be an ocean without a strong voice, a planet without a steady pulse. Life would still exist, but it would move differently, breathe differently, evolve differently. The great symphony of tides would be reduced to a whisper, and yet, in imagining that absence, we awaken gratitude. The moon's gift is not loud, not dramatic, not always noticed, but it is constant, it is faithful. It is the hand that stirs the seas, the whisper that guides the shore, the pulse that connects water, land, and life. As you drift deeper now, imagine that ocean. Imagine its waves breathing with the moon's pull. Imagine life carried forward. On those rhythms, imagine your own body in harmony with that ancient pulse. And know that in every tide, in every wave, the moon is speaking still. When we think of climate, we often think of the sun. Its warmth, its light, its steady energy pouring down upon Earth. But there is another, quieter player in the drama of climate, one we rarely notice because it works not by shining, but by holding. That player is the moon that the Earth tilts, about 23.5 degrees off-center. The planet leans as it circles the sun. That tilt gives us seasons, the gentle sequence of spring, summer, autumn, winter. It allows snow to fall in one hemisphere, while flowers bloom in another. It sets migrations in motion, signals trees when to shed leaves, guides animals when to reproduce. Without seasons, the world would be different, flatter, less varied. And without the moon, seasons might not even exist in the form we know. Why? Because Earth's tilt is not fixed. Left alone, it would wobble wildly, like a spinning top slowing down. Over thousands of years, that wobble could send the poles tipping dramatically, plunging one side of the planet into endless winters, then endless summers. Without the moon's stabilizing gravity, Earth's axis might drift anywhere from 0 degrees, upright and seasonless, to 80 degrees, rolling sideways, where the sun might hang low in the sky for centuries. Now, imagine such a world, a planet, where climates swing violently over geological time. Imagine grasslands turning to glaciers, then to deserts, then to jungles, all within a few million years. Imagine life struggling to adapt, species rising only to fall as the environment shifts beneath them. Evolution would not stop, but it would be more fragile, more precarious. Complex civilizations might struggle to root themselves. Farmers need stability. Communities need predictability. Without the moon, Earth might never have given them enough. And yet, the moon holds us. Its gravitational presence damps that wobble, steadying Earth's tilt within a narrow range. 22 to 24 degrees, just enough variation to guide ice ages and warm interludes, but never enough to tip the world into chaos. For billions of years, this quiet partnership has allowed life not only to survive, but to flourish. It is a gift so subtle that we rarely acknowledge it, a shield against chaos we take for granted. Pause now and imagine what this stability has meant for you personally. Every breath of air, every tree that bore fruit, every grain of wheat, every sip of water, all depend on stable climates that allow ecosystems to thrive. Behind all of it, the moon has been holding Earth steady, cradling its seasons, protecting its balance. Without it, you would not be here, listening, resting, dreaming. Without it, perhaps no one would. But let us not only speak of chaos avoided, let us speak of beauty created, because seasons are not only useful, they are poetic. They give rhythm to life. The bloom of spring, the warmth of summer, the harvest of autumn, the rest of winter. Without the moon's stabilizing hand, those rhythms might never have emerged. Earth might have been locked into eternal sameness, or thrown into wild extremes. But instead, it breathes in 4 parts, like music. The moon gave us that music. Even in human culture, seasons are woven into our sense of meaning. We speak of the spring of youth, the winter of old age. We celebrate harvest festivals, solstices, equinoxes. Our metaphors, our rituals, our art of it depends on the reliability of seasons. The moon, silent above, ensured that reliability. It has been the hidden architect of our metaphors, the unseen poet behind our language. There is another layer to this shield. Earth's climate is influenced by many cycles: the orbit around the sun, the distribution of continents, the dance of ice and ocean currents. But the moon's presence threads through all of them, stabilizing, smoothing, giving predictability. Even ice ages, though harsh, follow patterns. Even warm periods, though brief, return. Life has been able to plan, adapt, evolve because the moon gave Earth a climate that, while changing, was not chaotic. And yet, as we imagine Earth without the moon, we see how fragile this balance truly is. Perhaps life would still have emerged, but clinging to extremes, battered by chaos, forced into endless reinvention. Perhaps civilizations would have risen, only to fall as climates shifted unpredictably. Perhaps humanity itself would never have appeared, its delicate roots torn before they could take hold. From a philosophical view, the moon reminds us of the power of quiet influence. It does not shine by its own light. It does not roar or blaze. It simply pulls, gently, constantly, invisibly. And in that pull, it creates stability. Sometimes the most important forces in life are not the loud ones, but the quiet ones, the steady presences that hold things in balance without calling attention to themselves. Think of your own life. How often have you been steadied by something? Quiet, a friend who listens more than they speak, a parent's hand resting softly on your shoulder, a rhythm in your day that keeps you grounded. The moon is like that. It has steadied Earth without asking for notice, given stability without demanding recognition. So as you breathe now, think of that gift. Think of how the moon has kept Earth's tilt steady, how it has held our climate within a livable range. Think of how it has shielded us from chaos, how it has given us seasons, how it has allowed us to plant, to harvest, to sing, to dream. Without it, Earth would still turn, still orbit, still exist. But it would be less gentle, less stable, less kind. And perhaps, in such a world, you would not be here to imagine it. As you drift towards sleep, hold this truth softly. The moon is a shield against chaos. Silent, steady, unseen, it has guarded Earth for billions of years, and it will continue to guard it night after night as you rest beneath its glow. Look up at the night sky. Imagine it as it is now, with the moon rising, casting its soft silver light across the landscape. Hills glow faintly, rivers shimmer, even the shadows of trees soften under its presence. The night is dark, yes, but not absolute. There is comfort in this light, a lantern against infinity. Now imagine the same sky without the moon. Darkness deepens, shadows sharpen, stars glitter more fiercely, but the world feels colder, emptier, somehow more distant. The moon gives the night its balance. Without it, there would be only extremes, blinding day or endless darkness. But with it, night becomes something gentler, more livable. For early humans, this meant survival. The glow of the moon lit the way through forests, across plains, along rivers. It gave safety against predators, guidance for hunters, courage for wanderers. Without it, the night would have been more dangerous, more forbidding. Perhaps our ancestors would have feared the dark even more, staying closer to fire, venturing out less often. The story of humanity might have been more confined, less expansive, if nights were always absolute. But the moon does more than illuminate. It transforms. Think of a city under moonlight, its sharp angles softened, its noise hushed. Think of a desert, its dunes glowing pale and dreamlike. Think of snowfields under a full moon, where every crystal sparkles as though the stars have fallen to earth. Moonlight makes the world otherworldly. It lifts us from the ordinary into the mysterious. Without it, the night would still be beautiful, but not enchanted in quite the same way. Philosophically, moonlight reminds us of reflection. The moon shines, but not with its own fire it borrows. The sun's, it teaches us that light can be shared, that brightness can be gentle. In its glow we see the paradox, something cold reflecting warmth, something small shaping vastness. Without this reminder, our metaphors of reflection, of borrowed light, of quiet power might never have been born. And then there is mystery. The moon's phases, its eclipses, its shifting face, all of these carried mystery for early humans. What was it? Why did it change? Why did it sometimes vanish, sometimes redden, sometimes hide? These mysteries drove imagination, curiosity, science. The moon invited questions, and questions gave rise to knowledge. Without it, the night sky would have been less puzzling, more static. We might have turned our wonder elsewhere, but the moon gave us a close, visible riddle to ponder. Consider also the emotional mystery it stirs. Lovers walking under it feel their words deepen. Poets writing of it feel their images sharpen. Even today, the moon carries a kind of magic, a presence beyond science. Without it, nights might still inspire us, but they would be colder, lonelier. The intimacy of moonlight would be gone, leaving only the distant brilliance of stars. Astronomy itself owes something to the moon. Its phases offered early calendars. Its eclipses offered early lessons about shadow and light. Galileo's telescope revealed mountains and craters, shattering the idea of heavenly perfection. Without the moon, we would still have studied stars, but the learning curve might have been slower, less intimate. The moon was near enough to touch, with the eye detailed enough to show features, mysterious enough to inspire questions. It was our first laboratory in the sky. Think, too, of how the moon has shaped our nights socially. Festivals gathered under its glow. Farmers worked late, into the evening during harvest moons. Soldiers marched by its light, travelers navigated by its glow. The moon turned night into usable time, an extension of day. Without it, life would have been bound more tightly to the sun. productivity shrinking, travel riskier, gatherings fewer. And then there is sleep. The moon has always influenced it. A full moon can make nights brighter, stirring dreams, shifting rhythms. Some studies suggest people sleep differently depending on lunar cycles. Without it, nights would all be equally dark, perhaps sleep steadier, perhaps dreams less stirred by silver light. But then again, would we lose something? The sense that even in sleep, we are connected to the wider cycles of the cosmos. The moon whispers to us even in dreams, reminding us that rest is part of a greater rhythm. Now picture the stars again. Without the moon, they shine sharper, yes, but without balance. Too many, too distant, too cold. The moon is a counterpoint. A nearby lantern, a reminder that not all light is unreachable. Without it, the stars might feel overwhelming, endless, almost oppressive. With it, we have scale. The moon bridges distance, offering something to focus on, something that feels within reach. From a philosophical lens, the moon also tempers fear. Darkness, absolute, can be frightening. The moon softens it, makes it approachable. It tells us the night is not empty. There is light here, too. Without it, perhaps humanity's relationship to night would have been more fearful, more hostile. Instead, we learned to find beauty in night, to see it as not only danger but wonder. The moon taught us that even in darkness, there can be light. So, the moon is not only an object, it is a mood, it is atmosphere, it is mystery made visible. Without it, the night would still exist, but it would be sharper, harsher, more absolute. With it, night becomes softer, dreamlike, full of secrets and symbols. As you breathe now, imagine yourself walking under moonlight, the ground glowing faintly, the air filled with quiet mystery. Now imagine the same walk under a moonless sky, darker, colder, the stars brighter but further away. Feel the difference. One is intimate, the other distant. One invites reflection, the other demands endurance. The moon has always made night more human. It brought it closer, softened it, filled it with stories, questions, and dreams. Without it, night would still be vast, but it would not be quite so kind as you drift into rest. Remember this. The moon is not only light in the sky, it is balance. Between fear and comfort, between mystery and clarity, between darkness and glow. It is the gentle reminder that even in the coldest night, there is a lantern to guide you home. For countless centuries, humanity looked at the moon not only with wonder, but with longing. Among all the lights in the sky, the moon was different. It was near enough to imagine reaching. Its face showed detail craters, seas, shadows that made it feel touchable, as if it were waiting. The stars were too far, the planets too faint. But the moon whispered, "Come closer." Without the moon, our dreams of exploration might have been slower to take root. For the moon was our first target, our first destination beyond Earth. It was close enough to inspire courage, distant enough to inspire awe. Imagine a world without it, humanity staring upward at a sky filled only with stars, no nearby step to take. Would we have dared to dream of space? Would we have built rockets so soon? Or would our gaze have stayed earthbound for longer, our imagination trapped in gravity's embrace? The moon was a bridge. It taught us that space was not just unreachable infinity. It gave us a neighbor. And that neighbor pulled us upward, guiding our steps into the cosmos. In 1969, when humans first walked on the lunar surface, it was not just a technological triumph, it was the fulfillment of an ancient dream. We had always looked at the moon and wondered what it would be like to stand there. Finally, we did. Without it, what would our first steps outward have been? Mars, perhaps, but so much farther, so much harder. Without the moon, maybe we would still be waiting. And it was not only exploration, it was inspiration. Children grew up with the moon as a reachable goal. Writers imagined voyages there. Filmmakers dreamed of lunar bases. Artists painted visions of Earthrise. The moon stirred not only rockets, but stories. It reminded us that imagination and technology walk hand in hand, that before we build, we must dream. Without it, those dreams might have pointed only at the stars, too distant to ground themselves in action. The moon also gave us perspective. When astronauts turned their cameras back toward Earth, they saw something no one had seen before, the Earthrise, a fragile blue marble rising above a grey horizon. That image reshaped human consciousness. It reminded us that we live on one small, shared planet. Would we have gained that perspective without the moon? Perhaps eventually, but not as soon, not as vividly. The moon not only gave us a destination, gave us a mirror. Even before technology, the moon inspired exploration in mind. Ancient cultures mapped its phases, tracked its cycles, measured eclipses. It was the first laboratory in the sky. It invited observation, prediction, mathematics. Without it, astronomy might have developed more slowly. The moon gave us puzzles to solve. Why does it change shape? Why does it disappear? Why does it darken in eclipse? These questions led to discoveries about light, shadow, orbit, and gravity. The moon was the first step not only in space travel, but in science itself. Philosophically, the moon also symbolized longing. It was something we could see but not reach, a metaphor for every human desire just beyond grasp. Poets wrote of it as unattainable love, unreachable beauty, eternal mystery. When we finally touched it, that metaphor deepened. We learned that even unreachable things can be reached. The moon taught us persistence, patience, possibility. Without it, perhaps we would have been more content with limits. Perhaps our spirit of exploration would have been dimmer. Think too of how the moon unites humanity. The Apollo missions were carried out by one nation, but the images they brought home belonged to all. Everyone on Earth could look up and know there are humans up there, walking where none have walked before. It was a rare moment of collective wonder, a reminder that exploration is not only about boundaries, but about shared awe. Without the moon, such unity might not have come. Our first steps beyond Earth might have been too distant, too abstract, to inspire the same connection. Now imagine a world where the moon never existed. Perhaps our telescopes would still have studied stars. Perhaps, eventually, rockets would still have launched, but the first landing would have been farther, harder, costlier. The dream might have been delayed centuries, and perhaps, without that close goal, the desire to reach beyond might never have burned as brightly. Humanity might have remained a species of Earth only, content beneath its sky. But because the moon exists, we are more than that. We are a species that has left footprints on another world. We are a species that has looked back and seen Earth from afar. We are a species reminded that exploration is not just about distance, it is about perspective, about turning outward to better see inward. The moon, then, is more than a companion. It is a doorway. It opened our imagination to the possibility of leaving Earth. It guided our first steps, gave us our first successes, inspired our first collective vision of humanity as planetary rather than tribal. Without it, our story would be narrower. With it, our story expanded. As you breathe softly now, imagine those footprints still on the moon, undisturbed for decades, perhaps for millennia. Imagine the quiet flag, the instruments left behind, the tracks etched in dust. They are reminders of what we can do, of what we dared to dream. And as you rest, know that all of it began with looking up at the moon and whispering, one day. Without the moon, perhaps we would not have whispered at all. The moon has always been more than rock and dust. For us, it has been a mirror of glass, but of imagination. In its glow, humans found metaphors, symbols, and meanings that filled languages and shaped thought. To imagine a world without the moon is not only to imagine darker nights, it is to imagine a silence in language, a missing voice in metaphor. Consider how often the moon appears in words. We speak of being moonstruck, as if the moon itself could enchant. We call someone's face moon-like, glowing or serene. We speak of honeymoons, that sweet time after marriage once measured by the moon's cycle. Even madness carried the mark of the moon lunacy, from Luna, the Roman goddess of the night. Remove the moon, and these words dissolve, leaving our language less rich, less poetic. But it is not only single words, it is entire ways of speaking. The moon gave us metaphors for change, waxing and waning, growth and decline, disappearance and return. These metaphors seep into every culture, whispering that life itself is cyclical. Without them, perhaps we would see existence only as linear time, as a straight line rather than a circle. Our philosophies might lean more toward finality, less toward renewal. Think of love poetry. How many verses compare beauty to the moon? How many songs speak of moonlight as tenderness? How many stories place lovers under its glow? Without it, love would still be sung, of course, but the imagery would be different. More fiery, perhaps, leaning on the sun, or colder, leaning on stars. But none would carry the same softness, the same intimacy as moonlight. In art, too, the moon became symbol. A crescent moon carved on temples, painted on manuscripts, woven into flags. It stood for change, for femininity, for cycles of fertility. It was paired with the sun to balance opposites, male and female, day and night, light and dark. Without it, symbols would shift. Cultures might still invent balances, but they would lack this perfect partner, this quiet opposite to the blazing sun. Philosophically, the moon is the language of reflection. It has no light of its own, it shines only because it reflects the sun, and yet, in reflecting, it transforms. Sunlight is harsh, blinding, overpowering. Moonlight is gentle, calming, dreamlike. This gave us a profound metaphor that reflection can change energy, can soften power, can make the overwhelming approachable. Without the moon, would we have seen reflection as so powerful? Would we have written of gentleness transforming strength? The metaphor might never have been born. Reflection also lives in us. We reflect on our lives, our choices, our paths. We mirror others' emotions, soften each other's burdens. The moon taught us that reflection itself is light, that borrowing does not mean weakness, but transformation. Without it, perhaps reflection would not hold the same dignity in our thought. And then there is mystery. The moon hides and reveals. It disappears for nights at a time, then returns. It half hides itself. It changes shape. It taught us the metaphor of hiddenness, of secrets, of veils. It gave us the idea that truth comes in phases, that what is dark now may shine later. Without it, perhaps our metaphors for mystery would have been poorer. We might have leaned only on shadows, only on storms, missing this gentle lesson that absence can be part of a cycle, not an end. Religions, too, leaned on lunar symbols. Islam marks time by the crescent. Hinduism honors Chandra as deity. Ancient pagans celebrated lunar festivals. The moon guided holy days, rituals, prayers. Without it, religions might still measure time by stars or the sun, but the intimacy of monthly rhythms would be missing. The sacred would feel more distant, less cyclical, less connected to the ordinary night sky. Even science has borrowed lunar metaphors. We speak of dark sides, of phases, of orbits in our language, of ideas. We describe trends waxing and waning, economies in cycles, moods in crescents and fulls. The moon's patterns gave us patterns to describe ourselves. Without them, our intellectual language would be less rhythmic, less reflective of nature. Now, imagine daily speech in a moonless world. People still write poems, still sing songs, still make metaphors, but their words lean differently. They praise starlight instead of moonlight, speak of sunfire instead of moonglow. Their symbols lack the soft balance we know. Their metaphors for cycles are fewer, their words for reflection weaker. Language itself feels sharper, more linear, less tender. And yet, this imagining deepens our gratitude, because we do have the moon, we do have those words, those metaphors, those symbols. They enrich us quietly, like silver threads woven into conversation. They remind us that language is not only practical, it is poetic, and the moon has been one of its greatest teachers. As you breathe now, think of the words you use every day. How many are touched by lunar presence? How many phrases, poems, songs carry its glow? Even if you do not notice, the moon is in your speech, in your thought, in your way of seeing. It has shaped not only nights, but sentences, not only skies, but stories. The moon is more than light. It is language. It gave us metaphors for change, for love, for mystery, for reflection. Without it, our words would be narrower. With it they shine. So as you drift toward rest, let this thought whisper through you. Every word you speak carries echoes of the cosmos. Every metaphor you use is born of sky and season. And in the quietest of them all, in the tenderest, is the moon. The moon is not only written in poetry and tides, it is written in the pulse of life itself. For billions of years, living things have tuned their rhythms not only to the turning of the earth and the rising of the sun, but to the cycles of the moon. It is a hidden clock, subtle but powerful, shaping the timing of behaviors, migrations, even reproduction. To imagine a world without the moon is to imagine life beating to a different rhythm, one perhaps harsher, one perhaps less harmonious. Let us begin with the sea. The tides are the moon's first signature, rising and falling twice daily under its pull. Countless species time their lives to this pulse. Crabs emerge when tides retreat. Mussels close and open with the waves. Fish spawn during certain lunar phases, sending eggs into currents that will carry them safely to shore. Without the moon's tides, these rhythms would weaken. The ocean would lose some of its heartbeat, and the lives depending on it would shift. Perhaps they would adapt to the weaker tides of the sun. Perhaps other cycles, winds, currents, storms would take their place. But the richness of tidal life, the synchrony of so many species moving together, would fade. Consider coral reefs. Once a year, under a full moon, corals release their eggs and sperm in a breathtaking act of synchrony. Entire reefs glow with new life, each colony releasing at once, guided by lunar light and timing. Without the moon, would they find another clock? Possibly, but the elegance, the precision, the collective rhythm might never have evolved. The moon's clock extends to land as well. Birds migrate under its glow, their paths aligned not only with stars but with lunar cycles. Sea turtles climb beaches by moonlight, laying eggs in the sand where tides will reach. Even human sleep shows traces of lunar influence. Studies suggest we rest differently during full moons, our dreams shifting with its glow. The moon has been a quiet partner in our nights, tuning our rest and our wakefulness in ways we are only beginning to measure. Reproduction, too, has long been tied to lunar cycles. The human menstrual cycle averages close to the length of a lunar month, about 29.5 days. Ancient cultures linked the two directly, calling the moon a symbol of fertility. Women were said to be in tune with its phases, their cycles waxing and waning with its light. Whether coincidence or connection, the parallel shaped myth and meaning across civilizations. Without the moon, our sense of reproduction, of fertility, of cycles of life might have been imagined differently. Think, too, of agriculture. Farmers, once planted and harvested by the moon, believing certain phases brought growth, others rest. While modern science gives us other explanations, the rhythms still held power for generations, guiding human labor and food. Without the moon, farming might have leaned only on the sun, less nuanced, less cyclical. And then there are the hidden rhythms, the ones we cannot see. Microscopic plankton rising and falling in the sea, tiny creatures pulsing upward by night, sinking by day. Many of these migrations are timed to the moon, ensuring survival, synchronizing vast swarms across oceans. These are the largest migrations on Earth, invisible to us, yet written by lunar light. Without it, the pattern would be weaker, less unified, less powerful, philosophically. The moon teaches us that life is not only about individual choice, but about shared rhythm. That countless creatures, across species and ecosystems, can move together, guided by the same cycle. It is humbling to realize that the same moon that pulls tides also pulls at crabs, at corals, at birds, even at our own sleep. It is a thread, connecting all living things to the same clock. Without it, life might be more fragmented, each species finding its own rhythm, disconnected from the others. The harmony of Earth would be quieter. Now imagine Earth without that clock. The ocean is calmer, yes, but less alive. The nights are darker, and animals wander more blindly. Corals spawn randomly, fewer survive. Birds migrate less precisely. Humans sleep with a steadier rhythm, perhaps, but one less touched by mystery. Life would still persist, but its movements would feel less like music and more like noise. And yet, this imagining deepens our gratitude, for we see that the moon has given us more than light. It has given us rhythm. It has tuned life like an orchestra, pulling strings of behavior across species, across ecosystems, across millennia. It has made life not only possible, but harmonious. Even in language, we feel it. We speak of cycles, of months, of phases. These words echo the moon's hidden clock. Our very idea of time carries its shadow. Without it, perhaps we would measure differently. But because of it, we carry cycles within us, whether we notice them or not. Pause now and notice your own body, your breath rising and falling like a tide. your heart beats steady like a drum. Your sleep, your wake, your moods all rhythms, all cycles. They are not ruled by the moon alone, but the moon has touched them, tuned them, softened them. You are part of its orchestra, whether you know it or not. So what is the moon? Not only a satellite, not only light, not only symbol. It is a clock, hidden yet powerful, guiding life with quiet precision. It has shaped the timing of oceans, the timing of animals, the timing of us. As you drift now into rest, think of that hidden clock still ticking. The tides still rising, the corals still glowing, the birds still flying, all in harmony with the same moon that shines softly above your window. A clock that has never stopped, never failed, never abandoned its rhythm. And know that as you sleep, you too are part of that rhythm. You too are carried by the moon's hidden clock. The moon is not only a companion in the present, it is also a memory of Earth's past, written in dust and stone, preserved like a diary in orbit. For while Earth changes, its mountains eroding, its oceans shifting, its continents drifting, the moon remains, almost frozen in time. To look at the moon is to look back, to see echoes of what Earth once was. The story begins billions of years ago. Scientists believed that the moon was born from a collision, world-sized impact that tore molten rock into orbit, gathering into the sphere we now know. That cataclysm is gone, but its memory is preserved in the moon itself. Its very existence is an echo of Earth's violent youth, a reminder that creation often comes through chaos. Without the moon, we would not carry this visible reminder of origins, this silent witness of our own beginning.